Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I'm Jenny Cass here with Skip Bayless, Shannon Sharp.
Hi, Jenny. I want to congratulate Shannon Sharp. Oh, he bought himself a diet.
No. Don't worry about me, Skip. Go ahead. Keep on talking. Keep on talking.
You know what, Jenny?
Yeah.
He finally won a case of Diet Dew back from me. I think I'm now 33 up.
Yeah.
And you know what? I want to congratulate Shannon Sharp today because he had the guts to go way out on the limb and pick a 2 seed over a 7 seed. Jenny, do you know how many times 2 seeds have beaten 7 seeds in history of the NBA? 93% of the time, 2 seeds have beaten 7 seeds, and he is celebrating because he was the one who picked the 2 over the 7. I actually had the courage to stick with my team, the Spurs, who hung in there, and it did get to be a 2-point game with 50 seconds left, so at least they showed pretty well for themselves.
Do you mind if I enjoy my nectar of the gods out of my nice cup?
No,
Can we talk about the cup? It's
breakfast
a little
of
much.
champions.
Oh, it's the breakfast of the champions?
Yeah.
Nectar of the gods?
You know what? Now you got a chance today because you got what is the equivalent of Popeye's spinach.
Woo. Nice little cup. You like my cup?
Not really.
You don't like it?
It's a little much.
Yeah, it's a little much, but everything you wear is a little much.
It's too much.
It's okay.
So you said my cup. Okay, I'm sorry, Skip. You know what?
Yeah.
I'm going to sit this
You know what? I never drink Diet Dew out of the can. It just doesn't do it.
This ain't out no can. This out of... Oh!
You just slurped it all over your nose.
You're going to be okay?
Yeah, I
Are
feel
you
good.
ready?
How you doing, Skip?
Are you proud of yourself for picking a 2 seed? Way to go.
Can we get on with the show?
Jenny, did you know that it's 5 times in 72 attempts that the 2 seed is the 7 is beating the 2?
Skip, I didn't say anything about that. I was saying I was just having Dew.
I want to congratulate the Denver Nuggets. Jokic was by far the best player on the floor, and Jamal Murray, I don't care for him, but he made one big shot. Thank you. Next question.
Thank you. Moving on to today's show is Cam Newton on the hot seat in Carolina. And should the Browns be guaranteeing a trip to the Super Bowl? That's interesting. But we are going to start with some NBA controversy. Let's get right to the closing seconds of the Rockets-Warriors yesterday. James Harden had a chance to tie it with a 3, but missed as Draymond Green contested the shot. Then Chris Paul went after one of the officials and was ejected. The Rockets were livid that no foul was called on the Harden shot, saying he wasn't able to land safely, which was a theme of the entire game. The Warriors got the win, and afterwards Harden had a message for the refs. Take a listen.
I just want a fair chance, man. Call the game how it's supposed to be called, and that's it. And I'll live with the results. But especially we all know what happened, a few years back with Kawhi, like that can change the entire series. Just call the game how it's supposed to be called, and we'll live with the results. And it's plain and simple.
James Harden after the game said he just wants a fair chance, that the refs need to call the game the way it's supposed to be called. He just wants a fair chance. The refs need to call the game the way it's supposed to be called. He's specifically talking about closing out on 3-pointers, feeling like he got fouled several times in those situations.
I've been fouled by James on a James 3-pointer before. I ain't trying to hear that. Nah, I ain't going with that one. I'm straight.
Okay, Shannon, did the non-calls cost Houston the game?
No, it wasn't did it cost them? I think it was a contributing factor. I think the biggest cause for them not to win this ball game, Skip, is that they had 2 starters score a grand total of 4 points. And that was P.J. Tucker and Clint Capella. Now, you remember the other day, Skip, Clint Capella said, I wanted the Warriors.
Yep.
Now, Chris Paul was sitting up there with him, and he was looking at him like, are you crazy?
He said that.
See, all this, I don't know who started this. In order to be the man, you need to beat the man. Well, if I can beat the lesser of the man and still accomplish my goal, I'm good with that, Skip. I really am. Look, it's really, really hard to officiate James Harden and Chris Paul, Skip, because when they shoot the 3 ball, they flail so much. How much is it them flailing? How much is it someone is getting contact? Now, there are a couple of times that James Harden shot the 3-point shot, and Klay Thompson bodied him. Now, we saw this in the NCAA tournament. Virginia guy shot a 3, Skip, and the guy bodied him. They called it. They didn't call these yesterday. My problem with NBA officials, NFL officials, is that, they let calls like this go in the postseason. No, don't do that. If it's a foul in the regular season, it's a foul in the postseason. James Harden, in the first half, he got fouled on numerous occasions on 3-point shots. Chris Paul got fouled by Kevin Durant. He made it, but Kevin Durant fouled him. It should have been a 4-point play. So, Skip, if I was going to say a percentage of this, I would say 85% of these calls, these non-calls, contributed. But even with that, they still had an opportunity right there in the ball game. Kevin Durant goes off. Kevin Durant has been spectacular. And still, James Harden had an opportunity to tie the ball game with a 3-point shot. But Skip, these are fouls. And I don't want this last 2-minute report. I don't want the NBA to come back and tell me those should have been called fouls. The officials know. You're in that moment. You're sitting there. You're looking at the guy. You're looking at Clay not give James Harden landing space. You're looking at him bodying him up on the shot on the way down. So you need to make those calls. But I believe Clint Capella and P.J. Tucker scoring 4 points between the two of those because Capella was minus 17. Minus 17. That's not good enough.
No. So, to your Clint Capella point, they said last week, just a week ago, he had not one but 2 viruses. I've never heard of anybody having 2 viruses at once, but that's what they said. And whatever the reason, he was completely out of it. He couldn't catch it. He couldn't hold rebounds. He was lost yesterday. He has been a dominating post player all year long on the pick and roll with James Harden. He was lost yesterday, and it contributed to losing the game. But now to the bottom line. If the refs had called this game the way they ref James Harden all season long, Houston wins easily because Mike D'Antoni estimated the non-calls cost them 20 free throws. That's what he said after the game, 20. I'll go 18 because I saw 6 non-calls that I would have given to James Harden 5 times and to CP3 1 time. And that time 6.
A couple of times he made it. Should have been 4-point plays.
So that's... You could argue that, but if you don't take those away, it's like 18 more free throws, whatever. It was a 4-point game. And remember, we're talking about James Harden and Chris Paul are extraordinarily effective.
Savvy.
They're savvy, but they're also really good free throw shooters, both of them. So let's say they got 18 more free throws. Would they make 16 of them? They probably would. So it's a 4-point game. So let's get to the last one, which was the most debatable, and it was the most crucial. And Joe Borgia of the NBA, the head of replay and referees, said that was, in fact, called correctly, that Draymond, he said, moved sideways into James Harden's space, and that James Harden, to quote him, jackknifed with his feet, throwing his feet up forward, trying to draw the foul. But I got to say, even though Draymond was going sideways, he leaped right into his landing space. I'm sorry, that is a flat-out foul. Anytime, any place in the regular season, that would have gotten called. So James Harden deserved to shoot 3 free throws to tie the game with 4 seconds left. Now, could he have made all 3? I don't know. Do you trust James in that spot to make all 3? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. He just deserved
I would love him being given that opportunity.
So clearly, the game plan going in was to rough up James Harden, to get physical with him, to knock him off his spots, to body him. And it seemed like the new strategy was turn sideways into him. As you leap in, turn your back to him. That's what Clay and Draymond did, where they're leaping in, but they're turning in midair to face the basket, hoping not to hand foul him, but to get away with body fouling him, And I thought they repeatedly got away with body fouls.
I do too.
And I also think they did jar him. They did rough him up psychologically because James wasn't great yesterday. He was 9 of 28 and 4 of 16 from 3. Again, a bunch of them should have been called, but I thought they literally knocked him out of his comfort zone. And the reason this was such a big deal was this was an enormous wasted opportunity for the Houston Rockets. You're never going to get that team more vulnerable because the Clippers beat them twice in their building. Am I right?
Yes.
And as we know, 6 times in that building, they lost games by 20-plus points this year. This is when they're vulnerable because they had to play Friday night in L.A. and come right back and play early Sunday afternoon in Oracle.
Correct.
And what happened in this game? it seemed like Clay and Steph were pretty quiet in this game because they shot a grand total of 5 for 15 from 3. So they didn't ignite the crowd with their three-point shooting, right? And Andre Iguodala had to play 35 minutes yesterday at age 35. It's almost 35 minutes. And that's a lot to ask of him because Bogut barely played. You see what I mean? They just went small. They went death lineup the whole day. Am I right?
Correct.
And they got away with it which is why the Houston Rockets had 2 extra days to prepare, to recover, and they flew out early to the Bay Area so they could have get acclimated to the time change and to practice one big good time at Oracle. So it's on a silver platter for them to pull off, and the referees said no. And I'm here to tell you, I think the referees not only cost them this game, they just well might have cost them this series because the degree of difficulty will only go up in Game 2 because the Golden State will be a little more locked into how they're going to play, and I think Houston will be a little bit off-kilter coming into Game 2.
Well, Skip, even though they didn't get the foul calls, and you and I think we agree those were fouls and they should have been called because James Harden gets officiated like this in the regular season. Skip, he was fouled 95 times attempting three-point shots. That's 61 clear of the next closest. So it's not like James Harden was doing something